How many people do you know who struggle with their health? Chances are, whether they show it or not, most of the people in your life do. And chances are, you're one of them. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, endometriosis, acne, eczema, autoimmune, thyroid, Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, or any other symptom or condition, you're far from alone. Living with symptoms has become the new normal. So no more guessing games. It's time to get answers. Welcome to the Medical Medium Podcast. I'm Anthony William. We're talking about free will. It's something that you have. It's your God-given right. You were granted free will, and guess what? So were the angels. The angels of God, they were given free will too. In this episode, we're covering the power of free will and what that means and how that reflects what happens in this world for both good and evil. Now hold on for the ride. It's going to be a rocky one. There is something that God has given all of us. It's free will. And maybe you're listening right now and the whole God part throws you off. Maybe you don't believe in God or a God. Maybe you believe in something else, like the universe or the creator. And the creator or the universe gave you free will. Maybe it's many gods, and that's what you believe in. Maybe there's a master somewhere, or masters, or it's just the light. And maybe you believe it's something else. Like Earth isn't large, it's tiny, and it's sitting on the mantle of a powerful alien that sees us all as microbes and parasites. And maybe you don't believe the Earth is round. Maybe you think the Earth is flat, and that if we all walk to the edge of the Earth, we can fall off of it somehow. And maybe you thought about that before as you believe the Earth is flat. And you thought about it, and there's this weird kind of anti-gravity situation or a supernatural situation where you don't fall off the Earth. You just roll on to the other side, and now you're upside down. And maybe that's what you believe. Either way, one thing is for sure, one thing certain, you have free will. Don't believe me? Well, that's the whole thing. You don't have to believe in any of that. You don't even have to believe you have free will. It's that very free will that determines if you believe in anything at all. You have the free will to believe in something and not believe in something. You have the free will to believe the Earth is a giant spaceship, a mothership, floating through space, floating and floating. And it's this massive rock that really isn't a rock at all. It's one big spaceship. But it's your right to believe that. Nobody can tell you different. That's your free will. So choose what you want. But remember that word, choose. Choices. That's right. Your free will, it's about choices. You have the freedom to choose at least anything that's put in front of you. You want to excel in something, you can work hard, but you can choose to work hard. You can use your free will. You want to play sports, you want to dance, you want to paint, you want to work hard on a job. You got your free will, and you can do that. When God handed out free will, it came with a price. Free will comes with a battle of good and evil. Evil deeds, good deeds, evil, terrible things, good, wonderful things. And our own personal free will, our own free will can be at war. It can be in battle. It can be in battle with our own addictions. Our own personal free will can be in battle with desires. It can be in battle with demons. Our own free will can be challenged every single day. Addictions is a prime example of our own free will
in battle and at war. You want a chocolate bar? You got the free will. You can go purchase it. You can go eat it. You can enjoy it. It's your free will. Buy another chocolate bar. You can eat it, enjoy it. It's your own free will. Buy another chocolate bar and your adrenaline is pumping. The caffeine is taking over. Your heart's racing. You already had 3 chocolate bars. It's your free will. You can eat it. You can get another one. But then something's happening there. It's when free will is up against something else. It's up against maybe an addiction. Maybe it's up against demons. Maybe it's up against some other force. But either way, we have the free will and we could use that free will, but we can also use it where it's not helping us. Many of us on this planet have the freedom to eat what we want, choose what we want to eat, and how much we want to eat, whatever food that may be. We may have the resources to get anything we want. We got our free will to choose what we want to eat and then eat it. But we have the free will to do other things too, like eat a bunch of mushrooms, like psychedelic mushrooms, smoke a lot of weed. We have the free will to not stop after one joint. We have the free will to smoke all day and all through the night, sleep in between. We have the free will to do anything, partake in frog poison, partake in heroin, cocaine, crack, whatever new drug is out there. We have the free will to get into meth. We have the free will to destroy ourselves. Yes, to destroy ourselves. We have our own free will, and we can use our own free will to drink ourselves to death. We can use that free will. It's at our disposal, and we can destroy ourselves with it. We have the free will to turn away important lessons we've learned, to ignore good advice, to not seek out understandings and wisdom. We have the free will to look the other way because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. We have the free will to take things for granted. And we have the free will to self-harm. Free will becomes a wild child, a rogue beast, a weapon, a giant, a monster, a snake. Free will in the hands of an evil doer could mean doomsday here on planet Earth someday. Mars is a great example of free will. War machines upon war machines, centuries of war until the green planet died. Yeah, green planet. Now it's red. It's red because it's a wasteland of war. Crime is another example of free will. Happens every day, every hour, every minute on this planet. There's a crime taking place. Something's going wrong. Somebody's using their free will. They're making a choice to harm somebody else, to rob somebody else, to steal, to hurt somebody else. They're making that choice. They're using their free will. And what's empowering them to do so? What's making them do so? They're making the choice. Something's happening inside of them. They're doing something wrong, something that's going to hurt people. They do it. It's not right, but they use their free will and they do it. There's always been people on this planet that are using their free will to do good things. But at the same time, there's always been people on this planet that have been using their free will to do despicable, evil, horrible things. And that's how it's always been. Genocide, somebody's free will was involved. Anything terrible like that. The ending times, when that does come, guaranteed it was people using their own free will to do so. So what do we do when there's this good and bad war? good and evil using free will. How do we all get along? How do we all live with free will? When a person is trying to cross a street to deliver something for a charity, and at the same time they're trying to cross the street, somebody's in a car that wants to run them over. Or when your child goes to school that day and wants to do good things and do their work and make good friendships, while there's a bully about in the school wanting to bully them until they're terrified. Life almost becomes a game of free will. And it's not as simple as black and white, like saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use your free will, you lose your free will. You're always using it. Doesn't work like that. You're always using it. You even use your free will in your dreams, in your own dreams. Some fight to use their free will in their own dreams. They're in their dream and they're fighting to use their free will. They're fighting against the dream state itself. That's how powerful free will really is. We could fight against our own dream state and use our free will as we're sleeping. Our free will has a life of its own. It becomes part of our soul. And that's what's really interesting. You have to have a soul to have free will. You have to have a soul. You can't be soulless and have free will. You have to have a soul. A dog has a soul. You can watch a dog exercise its own free will. When a dog plays, you could see it. A cat has its own free will. You can see animals play. That's their free will. The angelic forces also have free will. God gave the angels free will to decide who to help and when, if possible. But free will can sway. Even the angels can use their free will to fall from grace, to become a fallen angel, and not to work for God anymore, but completely change and work for themselves in a selfish manner, an evil way. Free will is given to everyone, and how we use it depends on different factors: desires, traits, brainwashing, influence from negative energy, intentions. And who's keeping track of all this anyway? Like, who's listening? Who's watching? Is anybody seeing this? Does it matter? Is it seen? Yes, it is seen. Are you here for a reason? Do you know? Yes, you are. You're here for a reason. Recognizing our free will strengthens the road we're on, helps light the path forward, helps with choices being made. Sure, you're living your life, you're doing your thing, all is okay, you're exercising your free will, and then, out of nowhere, you're sick. Now what? Wham. This is one of the times your free will is challenged the most. Where do you go for help? How do I fix this? How do I heal? How does this illness have power over me? How did I get sick? How do I get to the finish line? A health challenge is the ultimate challenge, and it should be respected immensely. After a while, if you're sick and still struggling, even years go by, it's like no other challenge. No one knows unless they've been there. No one really understands unless they felt it themselves. It can be a weight on the shoulders that feels like a dragon breathing down someone's neck. Chronic illness, being chronically sick, is unlike other challenges. It takes everything one has, digging deep inside the heart and soul, and having faith you're going to heal because you will. And your free will is everything when you're sick. Your free will has to be sharp. It has to be strong. Not easy to be tricked, not easy to be swayed. Your free will needs to hold light. It needs to be grounded, and it needs to be solid, because we need to use our free will to heal. There are lots of distractions that break down and muddle the choices we make, and our free will can become weakened and clouded. It's easy to use our free will on a decision that could send us backwards for a moment in our healing process. And that's okay. But we need to feed our free will. We need to keep it strong so it doesn't weaken over time by downturns we experience. Because remember, our free will is connected to our soul. It's part of our soul, part of who we are, and part of who we become. Every time I'm traveling and I'm in an area where I see lots of homeless people everywhere, I always ask SOC, I always ask Spirit, how did this happen? How did this ever come to be? And Spirit says the same thing. Free will. A big part of it, a large part of how that person is laying on the ground in a tent, laying on the sidewalk, a big part of that was free will. A lot of parts of it are resources, choices made by free will. But for the most part, free will had a large hand in what was happening and why they were in the position they were in. And one thing that Spirit of Compassion would always tell me was that everybody that was in a homeless camp or on the street and they were laying there or sitting there didn't necessarily do all bad things. Getting there didn't mean that they did bad things in the world. A lot of people end up in a bad situation because they did good things. That's how crazy that is. Says you're driving through a homeless area, homeless camp. You see tents everywhere. You see people in sleeping bags or just on the cement, in the freezing cold, in the blazing heat. Realize something, that a lot of people that are there did good things, because that's how screwed up the world is. That's how twisted and evil the world can be, because other people used their free will in an evil way to hurt other people that were doing good things with their free will and ended up getting mulched by it. A lot of people will give their shirt off their back to someone. They'll literally take their jacket off and give it to someone, even if it means they're going to be freezing cold. They'll do it. They'll do good things no matter what. And something bad could happen to them because they did a good thing. Because this world is that crazy, that chaotic. But doesn't mean you should ever stop. You should always do good things whenever you can, whenever possible, and not be afraid to exercise your free will in doing so. Because if something happens, it wasn't your free will that caused it or did it. It was somebody else's free will that caused the problem. Did you ever hear that expression, I got burned, or don't get burned? Why would you get burned? Because you're doing something good for somebody else. Because you're doing something good. You're reaching out, whether it's an olive branch, or you're dedicating time to something to help someone, or your heart's in something. You're doing something good. That's where the don't get burned or I've been burned. You've been burned because somebody else used their free will in a terrible way, an evil way, a dark way. And that brings us to darkness. Darkness relies on people using their free will for darkness. And that's what darkness relies on. Darkness loves when people do despicable, evil things with bad intentions. When people use their free will and their soul to do terrible things, that's what darkness loves. Free will can work for darkness, just as free will can work for good, the light. Over the decades, I've seen good people do a lot of good things for other people. I've watched it. I live by it too. I've seen this. I've seen people who served the public do wonderful things, but then have a story to tell. Something happened to them. They got burned. Some institution went after them, or some evil people did something crazy to them. Either way, their hearts were in it. They were doing beautiful things, Somebody with evil intentions, somebody with darkness behind them decided to go after them, cause a problem, and then they were in a fight of their life. That's how it works out there. You can do beautiful things, good things, working for the people, serving the public, and be challenged by darkness, by people with bad intentions using their free will to do dark things, working for the darkness and causing harm and problems. It doesn't mean you don't ever do anything good for people or be of service in some way. That's not what this is about. Because if somebody's using their free will for darkness, they're not off the hook. No way. They get it in the end somehow, no matter what. It happens to them. Because you can't go through your life working for darkness, doing things that are causing lots of great distress and suffering upon others, and then being off the hook, scot-free. Spiritually, their soul suffers. And after they leave this place, leave here someday, it's not going to be an easy ride. Their soul can still suffer. We can use our free will to help protect us by making sure we connect our free will to our thoughts and consciousness instead of being on autopilot free will. Yes, autopilot free will. It might be ringing a bell right now. See, autopilot free will is when we make poor choices quickly, like automatically. Our free will is on instant autopilot. And then we say, why did I just do that? Has it ever happened to you or somebody you know? It's like you make a choice or you press a button and you say, wait, why did I just do that? Oh no, I don't know if I should have done that. It's on autopilot. Our free will is like taken over by something and is instantly moving ahead of us without seeming like our total permission. That's when someone says, oh shit, did I really do that? What was I thinking? It was almost as if some other force jumped ahead and made it happen. And they say, well, I don't know why I just did that. Consciousness and free will wasn't in sync. Look, mistakes happen. They happen all the time. Everybody makes mistakes. We all know that. A lot of times it's free will on autopilot, though, attached to a pattern that repeats itself. Patterns that just never break. They just repeat themselves over and over again as time goes on. It's like our consciousness is wired into that pattern, and our free will just automatically pushes it through all the time, autopilot. And this can carry into choices for our health, like grabbing that chocolate bar. Part of us knows we're probably not supposed to eat that big old chocolate bar. Part of us knows that, especially if we're sick or not well or struggling in some way. Sure, a piece of us might dig up something that we saw, which chocolate's good for you or something like that. Some chocolate propaganda out there. It's like, well, I could do that then. But part of you knows it's not a good idea to be eating a chocolate bar every day. But yet, we can't help it. The pattern just keeps on playing out. Same thing with caffeine addictions with coffee. Part of us knows it's probably not the best choice. Doesn't really make you feel that great in the end. Drink too much of it, you're feeling sick. You're wired like crazy. And if you're sick with some kind of chronic illness, it really doesn't feel good. It feels the opposite for a lot of people. But yet, part of us can't help it. We're like wired into the addiction, or we're wired into it, the pattern. We can't seem to break it. Most people these days know they shouldn't eat a lot of cheese. Do you think you should eat a lot of cheese? Does anybody think it's a really great idea to just be eating gobs of cheese? Do we really believe that that could be good for our health in some way? Sure, there's a lot of people out there that'd be like, this is good cheese. This is raw cheese. This cheese has calcium in it. And you hear all that. But in the end, when you're eating a lot of it, you kind of innately know this probably isn't a good thing. Not a good thing at all. But yet, we want to do it. It's kind of like our free will falls into the consciousness and into the pattern, where free will decides for us almost, gets into that pattern where we grab that cheese, we start eating it. We don't think about it. We just start eating it. It's like we don't check in with our free will when we should. We should be doing a free will check-in. If we don't, it ends up going on autopilot, and we end up repeating these patterns over and over again as time goes on. And when it comes down to our health, if we're struggling with some kind of sickness, some kind of health problem, we don't have it easy. We're not getting better. We've seen 50 doctors, 10 doctors, 5 doctors. We've seen healers and coaches. We've seen natural doctors and so forth. And we're still not getting better. And we have to make choices. We have to persevere and move forward. We have to use our free will. It's important to have our free will sharpened. It's important to have it keen, have it lit up, have it filled with light, have it wise, have it connected to our consciousness, have it a part of our soul, but really understanding that and having that connection there. We have to have control over our free will. We have to have it work for us and look out for us. Try this exercise. Every time you're making a decision, think about your free will. Be aware of your free will. This is how you sharpen it, you strengthen it, you get it to work for you. This is how you break patterns. This is how you see things differently. This is about being a seer. Free will has a lot to do with being a seer, seeing things other people don't see, seeing things that are unusual, that people aren't paying attention to, looking out for broken glass, seeing things that are dangerous, seeing things that are unproductive, seeing things that are beautiful when people don't see that beauty, seeing things and using your free will, sharpening it, getting it to work for you. This is a powerful way to move forward with the healing process, to actually sharpen your ability to heal, strengthen your ability to heal, being aware of your free will, using it, letting it work for you. So try this exercise when you can. Every time you're making a decision, or it's a decision that seems to be bigger than usual, or it could be the smallest decision there is. Maybe something simple. What do I choose to eat today? Where do I choose to go? What am I going to work on? What am I going to do? What am I going to watch? And then connect to your free will, knowing that this is all free will based. And my free will isn't running the show. It's not jumping ahead of me. I'm in control. My free will is working for me. We're working together. We're going to make the right choices. We're going to make the right decisions, the best in our ability, and we're going to do it together. Free will and I are going to do it together. You can do this exercise for just 1 minute a day. It's that powerful. Just 1 minute a day. It could be one decision you're making, the simplest decision, and do that once, where you connect with your free will and you're aware of your free will in that moment. You're using your free will to do this decision, to do this one thing. And you could say it out loud. I'm using my free will right now. By doing this, the connection it makes, the powerful healing it can do, the strength it can give you when you're making decisions for your health and moving you forward can be life-changing and even life-saving. There is an angel God created, and her name is free will. She's there to call upon when making a choice that seems unfair and against your will. Call this angel when things feel out of hand, but you don't have to. You have free will, and God understands. There's good all around, and bad. Can you hear it sound? Your free will is a holy weapon. It's yours to drown out the noise of darkness and the clowns. Never take your free will for granted, just because it's always there, going along with every desire. Remember, it holds fire, strength. It can be gentle and reckless and make someone's life great. And at the same time, used without thinking things out, could make a road so bumpy you hit a deer, or have a harder year. When free will is respected and admired, you see it for what it's worth. It can pull you out of hell, make your life level, and give you the greatest peace in your heart, so you never have to fear the devil. Remember, God granted us free will. It's part of our soul and part of God's shield, so we can survive the game of life and push the way of evil. Everything we do here is seen from above. All your goodness that shines and radiates through the atmosphere to the highest steeple.
Original published medical medium information gets stolen and poached by podcast doctors, social media doctors, influencers, and medical clinics. Medical medium information has never yet been proven wrong by medical science and research. Instead, the opposite, only proven right and then taken from medical medium published material and used in the conventional and alternative health communities. Medical medium information continually sets the stage for medical science to understand chronic illness better. If you choose to share or use the original, unique content from the Medical Medium podcast, books, or Medical Medium social media, please cite where this information comes from, so others who see and learn of this information have a chance to know where it all originates, to give them an opportunity to heal, so they don't end up losing years of their life searching for answers like so many have before them. The Medical Medium information here on this podcast doesn't come from broken science, interest groups, medical funding with strings attached, botched research, lobbyists, internal kickbacks, persuaded belief systems, private panels of influencers, health field payoffs, trendy traps, or gathered bits and pieces of gimmicky confusion. Because chronic illness is exploding like never before in our modern day history, it takes a greater force than us down here. It takes a helping hand from above. Medical medium information has street cred. It's an organic movement of countless people around the world healing. More healing stories of real people not being paid to tell their life-changing experiences of rising out of the ashes of sickness and entering into the light of full recovery, getting their lives back and finally healing when nothing else in the world of health could move the needle and get them better. The information on this podcast is not man-made. It comes from above, from a higher source. Whatever you believe in, whether God, the universe, the light, or the creator, or if you believe in nothing at all, that we're just floating through space together on this rock. Know that the information you hear on this podcast is separate from all the other noise out there. It comes from a different place, a pure, untampered with, advanced, clean, uncorrupted, original, primary source, a higher source, spirit of compassion.